last night, maybe for the first time for 3 hours. Welcome to the party, pal. It's what it's been every single week. And Brew, Wednesday you were here in Wilds during tears, was like, you know what?
Yeah,
I think I'm going to believe in the Broncos. And then Thursday, he doubled and tripled down on it.
Ooh.
And then, because here's the deal. There's a lot of football every weekend. And the Broncos are not a super marquee team if it's not your team. And so it's a weird universe where most of the people who are watching the Broncos week in, week out the closest are Bronco fans. And they want Bo Nix to be good. And they want to puff their chest out and be like, when the Chiefs were winning close games, it was all good. And now it's not. The only other people watching the Broncos really closely are people that it's their job or gambling on it or have a vested interest in the Broncos not being good. I happen to check all three boxes. I'm gambling on it. I want them to fall back for the Chiefs, and it's my job. And I'm telling you, America, that defense is awesome.
Yeah.
And while I think Sean Payton is a little overstated at times by some members of the media, I think he designs an offense where guys do seem to run open a fair amount. And their quarterback cannot hit them. And the running game is not as potent as they hoped it would be. And they are being.
But it's better. It's the best part of their offense.
No
right
question about it. No. But if they had a dynamic, if you have a great defense, good offensive line, and dynamic running game,
right,
then you can get away with having what is right now a bottom 5 or 6 production from the quarterback position. And so this is exactly how they played in London when they escaped against the Jets. This is how they played last week when it took a dirty hit to knock CJ out of the game to escape against the Texans. It's how they played in week 1 to beat the Titans. And so they have a great defense, and the defense makes them frisky. But that offense and that quarterback make them. Every other AFC playoff team, Brew, is going to be saying, please give us the Broncos. Of all the available teams, give us them. Because, again, there's not going to be any bad teams in the playoffs. He is going to be the worst quarterback in these playoffs by such a wide margin that you're just going to roll the dice with him.
You know, first off, I can't believe he just said dirty hit. I'm not even going to address that. What I am going to say is I love how when the Broncos won, when they beat the Jets, wasn't talked about. When they beat the Giants in a literal, historical, literal comeback of the ages, wasn't really talked about. They didn't even open the show with it. They were talking about everything else. Then they looked at it through the Giants lens, not the Broncos lens. When they beat the Eagle, like none of these games were ever actually discussed in the way that this game is now going to be discussed. So you have an absolute imbalance of conversation. Completely. And so I find that inherently pretty frustrating. It was the same thing with the Eagles. When the Eagles don't play really well, it's like, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it for the next 45 minutes. And then when Jalen Hurts goes out of his mind, has a perfect passer rating, balls out, it's just like kind of like a little bit, it's a little fart. It's a little aftermath. It's a little, footnote. And it's just kind of crazy. And now we're making stuff up about what the Denver Broncos fans want. As someone who actually watches all the games and makes the videos and then actually reads the comments, even live streams the games, talking to Denver Broncos fans in real time, I can speak pretty well to how the Broncos fan base are feeling right now. Because I interact with them every single day. And I don't have a trolling relationship with fan bases. So I can actually have some legitimate back and forth. And I can tell you right now that the Broncos fans aren't sticking their chest out like Nick is saying and that they're all saying, Bo Nix is elite, the Broncos are elite, they're unstoppable, they're this, that, and the third. That's not the conversation. That's not the conversation. And when they were comparing it to the Kansas City Chiefs of last year, the conversation was, you kept saying that those wins were great. You weren't saying, hey, the Kansas City Chiefs need to play better. You weren't saying Patrick Mahomes needs to play better. You were saying Patrick Mahomes is perfect. The Kansas City Chiefs have been perfect. And then when the Broncos win in similar ways, you're like, nah, they're bad, they're terrible, they're trash. And now the reality is you can't say, well, hey, the Chiefs won in 23, they won in 22. That's a different conversation. If the conversation was, do you believe in the Kansas City Chiefs? Is this sustainable? Do you expect them to be better? Does Patrick Mahomes need to be better, et cetera, et cetera? Those are different conversations. But in isolation, when Patrick Mahomes is having more interceptions and touchdowns, and you're saying, he's been perfect, he's been great, he's making the plays when he needs them, that has nothing to do with what you did in 23 or 22. No one was having a general conversation about, do you still believe Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback? We were talking about in these individual game-to-game, week-to-week basis. That's the disconnect. That's the problem. And as someone like me, who tries to be as consistent as he can, I watched Kansas City Chiefs games last year and I was like, Patrick Mahomes needs to be better. He is not playing good enough. They need to be better. As proven as them then getting rocked in the Super Bowl. And just like the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix this season, they're coming away with wins. And I was not saying, Bo Nix has been perfect. He's been flawless. This has been great. He's making all the plays when it counts most. I'm like, no, this team needs to be better. They need to find better. They need to win more convincingly. They need to, X, Y, and Z. So when you remain consistent, then you can actually have a more grounded conversation about what's happening and what's not happening, or how the fans feel or how they don't feel right now. The fans right now, I can't tell you how many people were like, this feels like a loss. Like, no Broncos fans are sticking their chest out right now feeling great. The fan base is very much divided on who to blame. That much is very true. Bo Nix, Sean Payton. Bo Nix, Sean Payton. Bo Nix, Sean Payton. Also, let's stop pretending like Bo Nix is just having nothing but wide open receivers and Bo Nix is missing them. That's absolute nonsense. That's absolute nonsense. That is not the reality of the situation at all. At all. So I wholeheartedly disagree with that completely. We saw more wide open misses from Caleb Williams than Bo Nix. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. Now Caleb Williams is also hitting some of these other big plays for sure. But Bo Nix is not getting nothing but layups here, and then he's just missing. That's not the case. And again, like I said in my earlier clip with the herd, the way how I see this unfolding right now, ironically, is like what we saw with Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears last season. Where when there's a play to be made, Bo Nix either misses it and it just doesn't happen, right? Or he makes a great throw, great play, but then it gets dropped. And it's just like there's such disconnection right now with this offense that it's not just Bo Nix is playing bad, therefore this offense is playing bad. This past game alone was the perfect example of that, where Bo Nix made some unbelievable throws where you were like, oh man, that is a nice high level throw. Then he made some bad throws, and then he made some other beautiful throws, beautiful plays that were then just straight up dropped. And that's all it takes to have your offense look completely disconnected. That's all it takes. It's the difference between having 245 yards and 3 touchdowns and having a box score of 150 yards. A touchdown and a couple interceptions. And the problem is that when you're having those types of performances, when you do throw a really bad interception down the field, when you do throw the ball a little short and it skips in at the feet of a receiver, everything gets magnified because you don't have anything else to balance it out. And so you literally, by definition, fall out of balance. And so it is an issue that the Broncos are dealing with right now. And then again, you have the other school of thought where it's kind of like, hey, Sean Payton's doing great. The problem is Bo Nix, and now Sean Payton's kind of handcuffed a bit. Like, he doesn't know what to call right now. He's trying to figure out how to make Bo Nix work, but Bo Nix is making it really hard. And then you have the other school of thought where people are saying, no, Bo Nix is fine. Bo Nix is great. He's obviously not perfect, but Sean Payton's not doing a good enough job. And so it's just, it gets messy. And this is where it's kind of funny because Nick would rip Sean Payton, made fun of him, say he's not that good of a coach, blah, 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 blah. It's ridiculous that he got rid of Russell Wilson. He really dragged, makes fun of Colin for liking him so much. He's always like, I know he's your buddy, but Sean Payton is blah, 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 blah. And now, in service of trying to dunk on Bo Nix, he's like, hey, Sean Payton's got wide open receivers all the time. It's just like, well, so which is it? I mean, if you can reliably scheme guys open, that means you're a pretty great coach. Okay? If you can reliably scheme guys open, it means you're a pretty great coach. But he ripped Sean Payton for some of the decision-making he's made throughout this season. So it's just like, that's where it's always funny to me, where it depends on, who you want to dunk on the most changes what some of your other previous takes then are. We see this most recently now with like offensive lines and Mahomes or Justin Herbert. Like, it's just depending on when you want your take to land, you just kind of change a little bit of the previous takes to fit how you want them to fit right now. But I mean, yeah, this was obviously not a great game for the Denver Broncos. This is not a game that you chalk up to saying, hey, we found a way to win. It's all that matters. It's like, no, you need higher quality football. You need better football. You are not going to beat the top teams in the NFL with this type of football. Now, the question remains, is there a solution to this problem? I don't think you watch these games and just say, if Bo Nix plays better, then this offense is just magically better. If Bo Nix plays better, then sure. Or is there going to be some improvement? Absolutely. But it's not like I'm just seeing, hey, all these plays are there. Bo Nix is simply just missing them. Or he's leaving the pocket too soon. He's trying to do too much. He's forcing the ball. He's really inaccurate. Like, that's not the whole take there. Are there flavors of that at different times throughout the course of a game or throughout the course of, the season so far? For sure. But that's not the foundation to me, which is why it's been so tricky, which is why Kurt Warner himself is kind of like, I don't know what I'm seeing. And if you're fooling and confusing Kurt Warner, well then, I'm going to have trouble, certainly. And this is what Kurt Warner said. I know Bo Nix was really well on the run, but I get anxious just watching him play. He's almost moving before he even hits top of drop, probably exaggerating a little. And for sure, it helps him sometimes, but sure seems to hurt him way more often. He told me he likes playing with his feet moving, but I've always felt when feet are moving fast, mind is moving fast, and tougher to slow it down. Either way, I feel he has to play slower and have more patience in the pocket. And this is what we had said in the beginning of the season, throughout these first couple of weeks, that everything just feels so rushed, so intense, and so like everything just feels like you're going a million miles a second. And I really do put that on the shoulders of Sean Payton to slow things down, to have a game plan, to have a play calling rhythm that is intended to slow things down for Bo, to make things feel a lot more smoother. But they've been doing this with Bo Nix since last year, of always trying to get him to be thrown on the run, moving the pocket around, like, and this year it feels like it's turbocharged. Now, to be fair, he does like throw great on the run. And, some of his plays, even just in this game, were him moving around and whatnot. But then when he is just kind of sitting in the pocket, there's seemingly never any consistent rhythm to this offense unfolding. And it's kind of crazy because, again, the way how this offense has worked and the way how just using this last game as the most immediate example, it almost felt like Bo Nix was pressured like 30 times. Seriously, if you weren't really counting and you were just watching, like, oh gosh, feels like Bo Nix is under duress the whole game. And it's like, he wasn't. He was pressured like an average amount of times. It was just like a normal amount. It was like 13, 14 or something, like nothing crazy. And yet it felt like watching that game, and maybe it was because I was also live streaming, it felt like he was being under duress, like it was Justin Herbert out there. And it was just like, no, it was a normal amount of times. And then the problem is that the checkdowns almost go nowhere. And I talked about that also earlier. It's like every time they check it down, every time they try to do a screen pass, like it just goes nowhere. And then you're in this situation where like 3rd and 8 feels difficult and 3rd and 3 feels difficult. There's too many moments throughout the course of a game now where it's like 3rd and 3, and you're like, I don't feel comfortable about this. I don't know where is this gonna go? And then situationally, it did feel like Bo Nix on like a 3rd and 3 was like, oh, he's running for his life now. Like in a lot, and that's probably why the pressures also felt more, because in many of these key moments and a lot of these 3rd downs or whatnot, a lot of these gotta have it moments, it was just like Bo Nix was kind of running for his life. Like nothing feels easy right now. There's never a moment that feels easy. And you got to get your quarterback easier moments. You got to help him slow things down. So I think there's plenty of blame to go around with this team right now from an execution. The penalties are through the roof. Well, they had like 8 or 9 penalties just on offense alone. I think like 11 or 12 total. I mean, that's huge. That's absolutely massive. I think both teams had more penalties than first downs, which was like the second time in like NFL history. Like it's just bizarre stuff. And this has been kind of consistent for the Denver Broncos. And a lot of that is going to fall on the shoulders of Sean Payton. And every time I keep thinking things are going to change or things are going to feel smoother or a lot more straightforward, they don't. And with the execution feeling inconsistent, and that's why I keep highlighting the Bengals game and the Cowboys game, and I really keep banging this drum that it wasn't like they were just taking advantage of wide open receivers and terrible defense. Their execution was at the highest level. Their execution was at the highest level. And it's not in many of these other games, which is a completely separate conversation from you're playing just a better defense. Execution is execution. You can execute the exact same way whether you're going up against a great defense or a terrible defense. Now, the outcome could be different in terms of how successful you are, of course, and you're going to be more successful against a bad defense than a better defense, but the execution can still remain the same. The execution right now for the Denver Broncos offensively is very mismatched, which is why we see 3 great quarters or 3 terrible quarters and then a 4th great one. A great 4th one. That even just in a game-to-game basis, you see it happen. It's execution. So it's just, I don't get it. I really don't. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Denver Broncos? What did you make of their performance? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here and absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all generally feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.